Hello, BookTube. Well, as you can see, someone insisted on being within watching range while I do my library tour. She wasn't just good enough to be in the room. She needs to be within watching range, even though she's not going to keep her eyes on me the whole time. But we are doing my library tour in 2022, book by book. Isn't that right, Frida? Are we doing a library tour, baby? Is that what we're doing? Everybody says hi to the little bean. Lost on the bed. Tiny little 10-pound thing. Lost on the bed. When in past I've had many dogs. That bed would have been filled with triangular beagle heads all looking at you at the same time saying, could you stop talking to humans? We really don't like other humans. But anyway, we're going to go through with this bottom shelf. I am on the floor. This is my new residence. This is where I now live, on the floor, because I'm not capable of getting back up, no matter what. There's the baby. Is she going to make a bed? Oh. She's just going to curl up where she can keep one beady little brown eye trained on me at all times. So we're going to go through this bottom shelf here. You should drink in the bean because the next shelf is far up in the clouds, where she will not be visible. So we'll do the Transwise book first. For this is Ben Goldfar's book, Eager, The Surprising Secret Life of Beavers and Why They Matter. This is terrific. I wrote a review of it. I've been doing a pretty good job putting my reviews on these videos. I think I dropped the ball a couple of times yesterday. I'll try to remember to leave a link for this. It was a tremendous joy to review. It was a tremendous joy to write about. This is about the natural history of beavers, of course, who are not really apex predators, but they are engineers. They are bioengineers, which is a distinction that they share with humans and only a tiny handful of other animals. They shape their environment instead of just being shaped by it, and that shaping is very important. Ask anybody. It might be a slight annoyance to a suburban homeowner, but ask any naturalist, and they will tell you if beavers decide to dam part of a river and make a pond, that makes a meadow. It invites in a greater biodiversity of animals. It's an amazing thing. It's a benefit, pure and simple. And this is also a tremendously engaging book. We're going to put to one side here so that we don't lose track of it. Then this next one is by a very favorite author of mine, someone I like a lot. I think this is her best book, even though it's not her most natural subject. This is Strange Gods, A Secular History of Conversion by Susan Jacoby. And that covers, of course, St. Paul, here, Saul of Tarsus, being thrown from his horse by a blinding white light on the road to Damascus, which was his seminal conversion experience and has led many atheists to say throughout the centuries, well, why did, if God wants to have a relationship with his creations, then why wouldn't he do this for everyone? Why did only Saul of Tarsus merit an undeniable conversion experience? Why couldn't a light on the road to Damascus be good enough for everybody? And the Christian answers to that are never convincing. The Christian answers to that always have to do with the wisdom of theology, or with the faith of revelation. When those things were already in place when Saul of Tarsus got his experience. But this isn't about conversions to Christianity. This is about conversions just in general. What does conversion mean? What are you doing when you switch religions? It's a point that is implied throughout this book, is that ought not to be possible. No version of that ought to be possible, and yet it happens all the time. And this is wonderful. I don't know. There's something stuck in here. Oh, okay. Well, there are reviews stuck in here. I don't think I ever reviewed this, but there's also a pub sheet. When did we get this? This would have been probably before we were talking. Yes, this was from February of 2016, so slightly before we were talking. I don't think I ever got a paperback of this, so I loved it. It's fantastic. I strongly recommend this author in anything that she writes, even her book about baseball, which I read and reviewed. Then we have War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. This should not be here. Remember, we said, what was it that we looked at just the other day? what was it? Was it an essay on man? Shirley Jackson? I have a bookcase for classics of all kinds. Just it's a fairly elastic subheading, and that's where these books go. War and Peace should not be here; it should be over there. But this is a volume that I found, a weird volume that I found at a thrift shop. This is, I don't know if this will even tell me whose translation it is. This is the Constance Garnett translation. I have no shortage of the Constance Garnett translation. And this cover originally had a weird, bad sketch of Tolstoy on the cover that made him look like Gandalf the Grey. And I wanted the book. I liked the dimensions of it, but I decided to give it my own cover art instead of keeping that. That would have just annoyed me. So I put a picture of a soldier of the time period on the cover, and I also changed the spine. The spine also had that weird Tolkien-esque Tolstoy, so I put a picture of the king on the spine. So it's still War and Peace, but it's more personalized than that. This next one, oh boy, I wish that I had reviewed this. I think this came out when I was back in reviewing. No, it did not. This came out in 1998. I would have liked to review it. I don't think it'll ever get reprinted. This is by Mark Merlis, and this is An Arrow's Flight, his novel about the Trojan War. Everybody has a novel about the Trojan War in them somewhere. Only his is about the son of Achilles. The Greeks called Neoptolemus. And Neoptolemus is a quasi-contemporary look at him. He is a go-go boy, hence the cover. It's a gay novel, and the Trojan War is this thing that's rumored on CNN and conducted with state-of-the-art warfare, and yet the prophecies remain the same. The prophecies in Quintus or Smyrna and a bunch of other post-Homeric writers was that the war would only be won by the son of Achilles. When the son of Achilles joined the war, that would be the sign that it would certainly be won by the Greeks. And that prophecy hangs over our adorable, cute, cynical main character here. Neoptolemus appears in here, and so does Philoctetes. And it's a fantastic book. Just fantastic. I'm not doing a good job selling it, but it's a fantastic book. Okay, all right. Then we have two books that I don't need to sell. These are Rumple books. Now, we've seen Rumple on a few different shelves, right? I'm looking at a couple of them now. So these are another example of something that really needs to be all together in this room. But these are two great collections. One is Rumple on Trial, and the other is Rumple a la carte, with this great cover artwork. They have his battered old satchel, bottle of Chateau Thames embankment, his, needless to say, dirty barrister's wig. There's a brief for maybe a little bit of courtroom shenanigans. It's just wonderful. I don't know if these have the Oxford Book of English Verse, but this cover artist has done a few Rumple covers that are just great. I should say who the artist is, right? Christopher Green. These are fantastic Rumple covers. So I saw them in hardcover, I grabbed them. These are two short story collections, and they are both great. Rumple a la carte is a hilarious story. Rumple on Trial is a great story, where he is finally on trial in front of all of the enemies that he's made in the legal profession, because it seems like he has tampered with a witness during a break from court proceedings when that is absolutely forbidden. It seems like he has told a witness to get on with his testimony, you boring old fart, and get it out. For God's sake, save us both some trouble and get it out. And there's a misunderstanding there. Of course, Rumple knows the rules. But it's terrific, and all the stories in these two volumes are. Okay, great. Then we have the big trade paperback. This is, what will this set you back? $25. But it is wonderful. This is an epic, a modern epic. This is from Princeton University Press, and this is the paperback edition of The House of Government by Yuri Slezkine. And it is a gigantic thing. First of all, it's 1,000 pages long, and it's a story, a biography of one gigantic apartment complex, one big building in Soviet Russia that housed all sorts of government apparatchiks and state-sponsored people. It was a sign of distinction if you got an apartment in this complex. And the complex had everything. It had all sorts of amenities that were unheard of in the rest of the housing market in the city. I didn't know what to make of that as a premise when I first heard about this thing, and then I read it and realized what was going on. Yuri Slezkine wrote a book that is the same as War and Peace. the book that we saw earlier in this same library tour. The Russians have a gift. They have a gift for surgically precise, short vignettes. But they also have a gift for massive works. Not only for writing them, the sheer stamina that it takes to write such a work, but also for making them work, which is not a given. It's not, you don't get to 1,000 pages by just starting on your road and just going with your feet moving. You have to justify it. It has to work. And I don't know of any other writing community that does it better, that makes it work more often than the Russians do. Which is, why when we think about them, we tend to think about these massive, massive books. This is no less a Russian epic than War and Peace, or The Brothers Karamazov, or The Gulag Archipelago, which is also nonfiction. It doesn't matter. The distinction between fiction and nonfiction doesn't matter at all. It's the heft, the emotional complexity, and this has it all. This is an astounding work. And the reason I have the paperback instead of the hardcover, even though the publisher sent me the hardcover, is because I am blurbed on the back. And I am blurbed on the back along with Tom Stoppard and Margaret Atwood, which is, I'm pretty sure, the only time that's ever going to happen in my life. I'm pretty sure. I'm far more accustomed to writing about Tom Stoppard or Margaret Atwood than I am to sharing a cover with them. But what can I say? I can't vouch for their responses to the book, but I absolutely loved it. I wholeheartedly recommend it, even though it is a massive undertaking, perhaps for March of the Mammoths. Maybe so. If you are thinking about reading a Russian epic for March of the Mammoths, it doesn't have to be one of the standard ones. It can be one of the more modern ones. And Quiet Flows the Dawn, for instance, or the Gulag Archipelago, or the House of Government. These things happen on a regular basis from the Russian media. Okay, then we have a hardcover science fiction. This is fantasy. This is Prentice Alvin. Book number 3 of the Tales of Alvin Maker by Orson Scott Card. These are not his Ender's Game. This is fantasy rather than science fiction. This takes place in an alternate colonial era America. Things are arranged differently, but you can definitely see what's what. You can definitely tell what's being riffed on. And it's recognizable enough. The ordinary people going about their lives, royals running parts of the country, a question of slavery in different territories. The main difference here is that people have knacks. Magic is real. Only the way Orson Scott Card portrays it here, it's more like the X-Men. It's more like mutant superpowers, but they're called knacks. And a lot of people have them. A lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. And a lot of them have profound knacks. Like far-seeing, where you can tell what's happening far away from you. Or if you're a torch. Some women are torches, which means that they can sense the truth of things, including, for instance, the position of babies in the womb. So they're invaluable to midwives. Or all sorts of other things. There are all sorts of knacks. And our main character, Prentice Alvin, his mother is pregnant with him when his family is moving. They are moving out west. They are claiming a piece of land. When they make to cross a very simple little brook. Doesn't look like it'll be any trouble at all. But water in this world is a servant of the unmaker, and the unmaker hates makers. And a maker is the quintessence of all knacks. Someone who can rearrange things subatomically is what we would call it. It's clearly defined that way. And the man who is the head of the family already has 6 sons, and he knows that his wife is due. That's why they're running the risk of taking her across the landscape in the rain, because they're trying to get to sanctuary so that she can give birth. And in this world, of course, the 7th son of a 7th son would be a huge signifier of the potential for our knacks. It'd be a hugely significant thing. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen, because the man's oldest son is swept away by this suddenly enraging torrent and seems to die, but he holds on underneath the water, tangled in the roots. He hangs on long enough so that when the baby is born, it will be the 7th son. And that son is Alvin, who ends up being a maker, having just basically unlimited powers. He just doesn't know what they are. He isn't quite sure how to make them work and what to do with them if he does. The signature piece in here is something that Card had been working on for a long time, where Alvin makes what you're seeing on the cover there, the no-go plow. He makes a plow because he's a blacksmith's apprentice, but he basically makes it sentient. He reworks it with his knack until it is basically sentient. It can't talk, of course. It can't walk around. But he's rearranged its inner parts enough so that it's alive. Basically, it's alive. And it's one part of the whole story. There's a lot of else going on in these novels. I've been rereading them, and they are fantastic. They're just incredibly good. And Prentice Alvin is my favorite one. I think probably because portions of it had been worked on longer than any other part of even the earlier books. Okay, then we have a huge memoir here. It does not belong here. I have a spot for biographies and memoirs. It doesn't belong here, but still. This is Personal History by Katharine Graham. The grand presiding genius of the Washington Post when it took down President Nixon. And she was also a quintessential Washington hostess. All the smart group went to her soirees. And she'd been prevailed upon by her friends forever and ever, please write a memoir. Please write a memoir. And she finally did. And it's really, really good. Surprisingly vulnerable. For this woman who was perfectly willing to joke and laugh over the dinner table, but not a big revealer, as one person said about her. And this is a very vulnerable book about her marriage, which was far from idyllic. Just a wonderful thing. Does not belong in this room. Much as I love it, it doesn't belong in this room. It belongs in this biography bookcase for a reason. Okay, all right, and then we'll end with another one. We'll end with another flagrant violation. This is part of the Oxford Ancient History, or the Cambridge Ancient History. And this is volume 9, which is devoted to the Roman Republic. And I found a naked hardcover. These things just had the plainest dust jackets in the world. They're fantastic. They're huge. And they're fantastic. They go into deep dives of detail. And the chapters tend to be written by different classicists. So if you're following a particular classicist like Ronald Sim, for instance, you'll find a couple of chapters there that typically won't be anthologized anywhere else. This goes into Republican Rome in great granular detail, deep in the sources, because the Cambridge Ancient History is meant to be a definitive work you go to, not just a popular overview. So I knew that I wanted this. I found it for $1 at the Rattle, so I knew that I wanted it, but I needed to make a cover for it. This wasn't a case of something like this, where the book already had a cover, and I just adapted the cover that was already there. I had to make one. So I folded paper into the shape of a book cover, and then I covered that paper in shipping tape, in clear plastic tape, so that it would be more durable than just paper. It would be no good to make a paper dust jacket. And then so I had a plastic cover for the book, which was what I wanted, but then it lacked ornament. So I gave it a spine. I called it Republican Rome, and I put a little pillar there at the bottom. But that still meant it lacked a front. It lacked a cover. The cover was just blank, and I knew exactly what I wanted to put there. Naturally, it was a New Yorker cartoon. And I knew exactly which New Yorker cartoon, but I had to wait until I found a collection at the Brattle. Frida can yawn in the background, no matter where she is. I had to wait until I found a collection at the Brattle that had that cartoon in it, because it's old. It's a 70-year-old cartoon. And I finally did. So I cut it out, and I shaped it, and I put it on here. This is the picture. 2 American tourists. There's a tour guide there in Rome in front of the ruins of a wall there, in front of the ruins of a portico. And the caption is, I suppose there's quite a story behind all this. And that is this story. That's exactly what I wanted. That is this story. So I suppose there's quite a story behind all this. About 2,000-year-old ruins. Classic American thing to say. I guarantee you the artist heard someone say that. So this, I love it. I go back to it all the time, but it does not belong in here. It does not belong in here. There's a history shelf out there where it belongs. But that's a problem for another day. So I'm going to wrap this up and then commence the day-long procedure of getting up from this position. I have no idea how that's going to work. I don't think the bean is going to help me. I don't think she could help me even if she wanted to. She's only 10 pounds. She's just a speck of lint. Don't tell her that, because she thinks she's, a lion on the Serengeti, but she's tiny. She can't help with anything. So I'll figure out a way to get up from here, because I've got 2 things pressing on me to somehow save myself from this position. Thing number 1 is that we've got to go all the way back up to the sky for the next installment of this library tour. And thing number 2 is that I have a live stream today. Steve Stream number 2 is today at 4 p.m. Boston Standard Time. I want to show up for that. I can't be crippled when I do, so I'm going to have to work on this. But I wanted to do this anyway, so I'll wrap this up for now. But I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.